The opposition New Patriotic Party is accusing Ghana's Electoral Commission of playing to the propaganda of the governing NDC over the new voters register.
If the Electoral Commission thinks that it is logistically possible, they should immediately announce the steps and quickly roll it out. Failure to do this will only mean the obvious. Even though the current register's credibility has been questioned by no less a body than the Supreme Court, the EC is determined to keep it in order to give a particular political party an undue and unfair advantage.
This comes weeks after the EC announced that based on the panel's report, there will be no need to replace Ghana's voters register. Now, the NPP, however, says it has a plan B, but will not make it known to the public. So what is the NPP's basis for asking the EC to provide proof of method in determining alleged Togolese nationals on Ghana's electoral roll are indeed Ghanaians? Is the Electoral Commission in bed with the NDC? And if that happens to be true, what are the implications on the 2016 general elections? And if indeed the NPP also has a plan B, should we be worried about this plan B? This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Addressing a news conference at the party's headquarters in Accra today, campaign manager of the NPP, flag bearer and former national chairman Peter Macmah said the EC's position on the voters register was predetermined and doing the bidding of the ruling NDC.
To the Commission, the register is bloated for two main reasons. That's from the Electoral Commission. One, there are too many dead people on the list. And two, the voter ID serves as a national ID card for everybody in Ghana, including foreigners, minors, and presumably fraudsters who need multiple identities to commit fraud. It is useful at this juncture to make this point. The Electoral Commission has not been able to challenge any of the statistics we provided to show that the register is bloated. If you recall, when we did our presentation at Analyst, we emphasized three key areas that made the register bloated and flawed. We gave statistical, legal and constitutional, and the third one was statistical, legal and constitutional, and then IT, the information technology systems that was used to produce the register. So we are saying that as far as the statistical, the first thing we addressed in Alisa is concerned, the EC has not been able to show anything against that. They have used all manner of phrases and excuses to dance around it. When all is said and done, the Electoral Commission is now saying it agrees with us that yes, Ghana has a bloated register. That is the bottom line. That is the bottom line, that Ghana has a bloated register. However, instead of fixing it, what we are getting from the Commission are excuses upon excuses. For example, the EC wants us to merely accept its assertion that it is not as good as its counterparts in other African countries at cleaning up a bloated register. Let me quote exactly what the Electoral Commission at page 9 of its response to the NPP said, and I quote, "The reasons for Ghana's relatively high score are: 1, processes of challenging registration of prospective voters in other jurisdictions are more effective. 2, the voter ID card is de facto national ID card in Ghana. Hence, the higher numbers due to enhanced demand for it as a means of identification. 3, the existence of compulsory national ID card systems in most comparative countries. 4, no automatic linkages of voter registration to birth and death registry in Ghana, hence a high number of deceased persons still on the register. Unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the very words of the Electoral Commission, not ours. In other words, the Commission is saying to Ghanaians that yes, our register is among the worst in Africa. Yes, it is bloated. But so long as we don't have a proper national ID in Ghana, so long as we don't have proper records of the dead, we cannot prevent illegal names from getting onto the electoral roll. It is interesting to know that MPP used Nigeria, Senegal, Kenya, and Tanzania in its analysis on the point. Interestingly, the Electoral Commission limited its response to only Kenya and even added South Africa, which was not part of the MPP analysis. We will want to know which reasons the EC provides for countries like Nigeria, which is only now rolling out a national identification system for its populace. And yet Nigeria's election management body was able to find an effective method of getting a more credible register without a national ID for its recent 2015 elections only last May. To the Electoral Commission, this is one of the reasons we suggested the compilation of a new register. If the Electoral Commission thinks that it is logistically possible, they should immediately announce the steps and quickly roll it out. Failure to do this will only mean the obvious. Even though the current register's credibility has been questioned by no less a body than the Supreme Court, the EC is determined to keep it in order to give a particular political party an undue and unfair advantage. It is the responsibility of the Electoral Commission, but no one else, to adhere to the Supreme Court decision and purge the register of all such illegal entries before giving those who are eligible to vote another opportunity to now register legally. If this is not the basis for the creation of a new register, then the EC should tell us how many people registered with the NHIA cards. How does it intend to identify every single person on the estimated millions of Ghanaians who registered using the NHIS card in 2012? The EC should again tell us how it intends to inform every single one of them to come forward to take steps to regularize their voting status.
We can now speak with General Secretary or the Deputy Communications Director of the NDC, Fred Agbenyo, to respond to some of these issues. Good evening, Fred. Many thanks for your time on today's big story.
Good evening, Aisha.
You just listened to Peter Macmah accusing the Electoral Commission of dancing to your party's propaganda. How do you respond to that?
Aisha, thank you very much. I'm saying good evening to your listeners and viewers. I think that Mr. Macmah and the MPP, just like every Ghanaian, is entitled to view and opinion. Nobody can stop anybody from expressing a view and opinion on issue.
Right.
I think that where we are now, a body that is mandated by the Constitution to regulate electoral activities in this country, set up a committee to consider all the positions that were put up by the various bodies. And at the end of their verdict, they have said that we are not going to compile a new register. We are going to clean the register that we have and use for the next election. It is for everybody to either accept it or to reject it, and that becomes the fellow's own prerogative. Nobody can force the MPP to accept the position of the Electoral Commission, neither can anybody force them to participate in the coming election.
But they've given reasons explaining that the Electoral Commission did not give them, for instance, the method they used to identify that the Togolese that the MPP said were on our electoral roll are indeed Ghanaians. Don't they have enough reasons to accuse the EC of being in bed with the NDC?
Aisha, I'm sure that you have had opportunity to read what the Electoral Commission put out on their website as far as MPP's concerns and the response that is subsequently given to them are concerned.
Right.
I don't want the people of this country to be carried away by persons who have chosen to reduce themselves to a baby who is crying to sleep. He wants food, he wants breast milk, he wants to be carried, he wants to be pampered, he wants to do whatever. And if a political party has chosen to reduce itself to that level, that is their own business. Right. They are crying over everything. They are shouting about everything. They are blaming everybody but not themselves. I think that this country is a very serious country. We have serious business to do as a people, and we are not going to waste our time and our energy and our sleep time on a baby who are choosing not to sleep. If you not sleep, we'll keep you in the hall, and then we'll sleep in the bedroom and sleep. When they are tired of crying, you sleep on the carpet.
Many thanks to Fred Agbenyo, Deputy Communications Director of the NDC. We can all listen to the Programs Officer at the CDD, Paul Nana Kwabna Abrampa, who says he is rather disappointed with the way such an important issue has been handled so far.
To be good, because we are dealing with figures, we have a series to guide us. What happened at the Supreme Court? That Dr. Ferijan's pronouncement and what happened at the Supreme Court indicates that whoever occupies that to manage public communication, especially as far as figures are concerned.
Leaving the argument in the court of the political parties to take it up instead of the elections management body taking full control of affairs is dangerous for our political discourse, especially for 2016. I wasn't expecting the issue on voter rule obligation to be MPP, NDC, or among political parties. I was expecting it as a petition to the elections management body, who by the Constitution is the sole agency who has the mandate to deal with issues on elections, and maybe share its findings or its thoughts with other political parties. But as it stands now, a witness is what we are having today. That is become a ball game for the NPP and NDC, as usual as all political issues in the country. Okay. If you don't take time, it's going to drag on, and this is a very tensioned elections that we're going to have. Okay. So I believe, as I said, it's late now, but I was expecting the EC to have met with the NPP, share its findings with other political parties, that its findings from the allegations whatsoever before it comes into
the public domain. Okay, Mr. Rapper. Sorry, I will have to let you.
Man, Kwachi Afre Nyama was at the press conference for Joy News. He now joins me in the studio to do some analysis. Good evening to you, Afre. First, tell us the reasons why the NPP is saying the EC's decision on the the voters register was predetermined.
Well, they provide two key reasons. And first, that even before the panel had the opportunity to do their work and come out with their findings, the Electoral Commission had come out and spoken on radio and various media platforms, stating that we have a credible electoral register. Right. And Mr. Peter Macmah made reference to a story on My Joy Online, which a spokesperson of the Electoral Commission has stated, right, that the voters register is clean. And the second point that the MPP makes, backing the argument that the Electoral Commission's position was predetermined, is that the timetable, they say, concerning the November 7 general election came out again before the committee finished its work. And then this timetable, again, does not make any provision, does not leave any room for a possible review of the voters register. And the MPP finds that pretty curious. And that's the basis on which the largest opposition party is saying that this the position of the Electoral Commission on this matter was certainly predetermined.
And we also heard that the NPP says it has a plan B. And did they give you a hint of that plan B?
Well, ahead of the EC panel's decision, ahead of the EC itself putting together this panel, taking views from all political parties and civil society groups, we'd had top officials of the MPP, the likes of Mr. Osafo Mafo, who granted an interview to Joy News after Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's presentation on this matter at Aliza Hotel, saying that the New Patriotic Party would reject any, election result that's conducted on the current poll. In fact, that the NPP did not believe that the 2016 election would be credible if it's conducted on the current voters register. But what the NPP is saying now is that they believe that whether or not the current election is conducted on the current poll, they are confident they win. To them, it wouldn't be a level playing field, but they intend coming out with what they have described as their Plan B, and this they will come out with within the next 5 months. They would, however, not reveal what specifically that Plan B is, but certainly they say that it would be to ensure that we have a credible election later this year.
They're determined to boycott any outcome from the 2016 elections if indeed it is done on this current register, if I heard you right.
No, that's not the party's position on the matter. That was the previous position held by the MPP before the committee came out with its findings. But now they say that they are confident that any
even
election,
if it is held on this register,
poll,
they will win.
They will win the election.
Okay, so you don't know what their Plan B is? That
the party says it's not willing to make public. But as I mentioned, that will certainly happen within the next 5 months. We all know what that alternative measure by the MPP is. But one key issue that Mr. Peter Macmah, campaign manager of the MPP, raised is that they are calling on the Electoral Commission to halt all the processes that they are currently undertaking to clean the register internally until these concerns by the party are addressed. And you've had political parties like the PPP, for example, also calling for the entire process, the recommendations of the committee to be reviewed.
Exactly. So, but we also know the EC's position on the Ashanti region's electoral roll. Did they respond to that?
Yes, the MPP say that they find it pretty curious, and the comments by the chairman of the Electoral Commission, who spoke on Newsfile over the weekend, saying that they've identified some 200,000 names in the Ashanti region which are not supposed to be on the voters register. What the MPP is saying is that in the same panels, eminent panels recommendation, they talk about 150,000 names. So how come if you do the tally there, if you do the comparison there, logically suddenly doesn't add up, that you talk about 150,000 names somewhere else and you say that the Ashanti region alone has 200,000 names. Certainly that can be per their analysis, and they think that this is an indication that the Electoral Commissioner and the Electoral Commission in its entirety is jumping on the propaganda bandwagon of the National Democratic Congress, saying that, well, the MPP has, fixed some names there in the voter region to boost their own electoral fortunes there.
Knowing very well that the Ashanti region is a stronghold of the NPP. Well, many thanks to you. Kwacha Fred Nyama is with our political desk, and he followed the press conference for Joy News. We also know that the Electoral Commissioner, or the chair of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, has been speaking on the Commission's decision on the new voters register. We can now listen to her.
If today one group says do a new register and the EC listens, and tomorrow another group starts another agitation, then we must follow precedent and we must be compelled to listen. We should never take decisions based on that. You must always be able to stand by principle. So we listened to everybody. They brought their submissions in writing. We read it. And for some of them, you're like, clearly, you want to ask more questions. Anyone can put out anything, but we need to engage and understand even why are you suggesting this? Why do you think, for instance, that electronic voting is the solution to problems with the register? So we said, we would organize a forum. But because we also have our own views, we'd have other people come and listen. Both of the big parties actually had concerns and complaints. Informally, they brought it to us about some members of the panel. NPP had complaints about 2, NDC had complaints about 2, and I said, okay, that shows it's a balanced panel in my view. So we went ahead, we televised it. It was broadcast on radio, it was on the internet. We wanted everyone to listen and to also engage, and people could ask questions. And in that room, even the CSOs had the opportunities to present their views on the register. After that, the panel takes a decision. We read the report of the panel as the Electoral Commission, and we said, well, we would go with it in the interest of building inclusiveness, building consensus, building transparency. We thought that was the way to take a decision. And so, do we think that it will be a popular decision? Of course not. It won't be popular to everyone. Do we think it is a right decision? Yes. And because we think it is a right decision, we would implement it. Now, what are the challenges with the register that people have complained about? The allegations that there are minors on the register, allegations of multiple registrations, allegations of foreigners who are not qualified to be on the register or on the register. Those are the main allegations. There are others which border more on statistics and total number of our registered population compared to other countries. And we've explained that. Again, you have to understand the social context. We were told that in Kenya, for instance, their population is almost double Ghana's, and our the voter roll is about the same. I went to Kenya. I sat with the EMB.
You did?
Yes, I did. I said, how come you have a population of 40-something million and you have 20-something million on your 18 million on your register? And they said, oh, it's because when we're doing the biometric register, we had a 1-month period to do it. So we had actually targeted the registrable role is about 23 million. We could only capture 18 million. So we have a shortfall. So if you read the strategic plan of the Kenyan Electoral Commission, there's a plan to capture even more people on their roll. And also, Kenya has a very robust system of national identification. You can't get married, you can't set up a business, you can't open a bank account if you don't present a national identity card. So, of course, the demand for the voter ID or to be on the roll is not as high as it is in Ghana, because Ghana, it's become the de facto means of identification. So we can't just pick figures from Kenya and compare. I went to the South African EC. I sat with them. I had the same discussion. Similar examples. They have a robust national identity system, so it's not a de facto ID. Voting is not compulsory, so you don't get as many people clamoring for the ID as you would in Ghana. So all the statistics have to be situated within context for you to understand it. Now you come to the issue of the minors on the register, allegedly. And then we have to ask ourselves, how did the minors get on the register? And why?
We have had that question time and again, but the issue is how to remove them, really.
Exactly. And so, how does the process of creating a new register ensure that we don't have minors on the register?
Now you are amending the law. You, the EC, are able to,
that is one of
you know, as it were, protest.
Protest. But does it, even that? This is a country where we have one of the highest rates of child and early marriages globally. So if you have a 14-year-old who is married and sitting in her husband's house and comes to register, maybe because she wants to go and open a business or get a SIM card, and you say, no, you look 14. Or you look 16, you're not 18. And she says, I'm 18. And the husband says she's 18. The parents say she's 18. What is the background documentation that we're going to request for her to establish it?
Let's now gauge the mood of a political analyst. We can also call him a governance expert. His name is David Agbe. Good evening. We're grateful for your time on today's big story.
Yes, thank you, Aisha.
David, the MPP seem not to be satisfied with the position of the Electoral Commission. They're accusing the EC of playing to the NDC's propaganda and also asking the EC to prove how they came by the answer that the electoralists on our electoral roll are indeed Ghanaians. Failure to do so, they say, will mean the EC is playing to the ruling party's propaganda. Your thoughts on this?
I think that as we speak now, there is no much activity for the MPP.
Right.
And so it looks as if the media landscape has been taken over by the governing party. So MPP is trying to, as much as get a media attention. And, you know, they've not launched their manifesto yet.
Right.
So there isn't much activity. And a political party, you don't have to let the ruling party obviously take the media landscape. So they needed attention. And so some of us are not surprised that Macmah, the campaign manager of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has actually come out with a press, statement. And I must say that reading through their press statement, you could realize still that they have a difficulty as far as the voter register is concerned, and the allegation that Togolese nationals are in Ghanaians' electoral register, which Electoral Commission and other groups have actually challenged MPP to provide enough evidence, which they've not been able to do. And some of us have actually spoken on that subject extensively, that it will be quite difficult for MPP to actually prove the allegation. And one of us, we are expecting that some of the renowned people like Professor Makokwe and other groups who are political scientists and understand international relations and diplomacy will be able to advise MPP that the allegation will be very difficult for them to prove beyond reasonable doubt, because for a political party to get a voter register from another country is always extremely difficult, because political parties are an organization, and so a state deal with a state. That is what we are all aware when it comes to international relations, that nations deal with a nation. A nation does not deal with a political party. A nation does not deal with an actor, which a political party is more like, if I could use the word, a non-governmental organization. So how then can Togolese, authority provide their electoral register, which is a national security document of their nationals? So how can they give it to a political party in Ghana? And it will be extremely difficult. It will breach what we will call diplomatic protocols when it comes to governance, when it comes to international relations. And so some of us are of the view that MPP need to use their professionals like Professor Makokwe and other people who are very renowned and understand what is political science and understand what is international relations and diplomacy, so that some of these things, they will be able to understand that it is never going to be easy for a political party to deal directly with another nation getting their national security document, which is their electoral register.
Well, many thanks to you, David Agbe, for your time. That's all time will allow us. We're extremely grateful for your time on today's big story. This is today's big story. We've been talking about the New Patriotic Party accusation of the Electoral Commission that it is playing to the propaganda of the governing NDC over the new voters register. In fact, it is asking the EC to provide proof to what kind of methodology they use to come to the answer that, or to come to the conclusion that the Togolese that were found on Ghana's register are indeed Ghanaians. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for your time.